Good morning and good afternoon, everybody across Canada. Welcome to another Canada Life public webinar. If you are having any difficulty joining, if you saw that you had the option of joining as a presenter versus attendee, hopefully you have selected attendee and you're with us in that vein. I know that a few folks have been clicking on the presenter button, so hopefully we'll get that sorted out. And apologies if you're hearing any little dings in the background. We would like to also note that if you'd like French audio for today's session, you can see the login information on the screen in front of you. Make sure you mute your computer audio when you do that so you're not hearing double sound. And the number that is showing there is local to London, Ontario, but the original invite that we sent out did contain a link so you could access a number local to your area. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that I am located in Toronto, and that office is situated on the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee, and the Huron-Wendat nations. And we acknowledge the Dish with One Spoon Covenant, which is a treaty whose spirit is based on collective stewardship and sharing of land and resources, and one which extends to all nations living in present-day Toronto. Canada Life acknowledges the harms of the past, and we respect the history, people, and land in the areas we live and operate. We're committed to building relationships and moving forward in the spirit of truth and reconciliation, guided by shared principles of respect, equality, and collaboration. Today's May 4th, and it's this 2-year anniversary of the first May the 4th event we did in May 2020. As always, we're joined by Marianne Baton, Director of Collaboration and Strategy with Workplace Strategies for Mental Health, as well as members of the Canada Life Wellbeing team from all across Canada. I'm Laura, and I'm joined by Samia, Michelle, Carolyn, Caroline, and Alana, and you're going to be meeting all of them as we proceed today. As you listen, you're welcome to note your questions or comments in the Q&A in either English or French, and in the time that we have at the end of the session, we'll be happy to respond to those questions. And also, if you have ideas for topics that you'd like us to cover in future webinars, please feel free to share those as well. We'd love to hear your ideas. We will be mentioning a number of resources that are available to you throughout today's session. We have compiled those resources into one-pagers in English and French, and we will put those on the Workplace Strategies website after today's session, so don't feel like you have to frantically jot down any information with respect to the resources that we're mentioning. Samia is going to get us started with the topic of balance. Samia?
If we learned anything over the last 2 years is the importance of balance. The pandemic has certainly destabilized our day-to-day and exposed us to being outside of our comfort zone. Prior to the pandemic, although not perfect, many of us had our regular routines, scheduled for home, scheduled for works, and social activities scattered throughout our week. And perhaps we even had the precious time carved out for movie night at home. But in a matter of days, that was all disrupted. And many, myself included, found ourselves without routine and without balance. Those working on the front lines, the essential workers, have had incredible pressures placed on them, making it even more difficult to find balance in their days. Those working from home, particularly those with young children, find themselves not only full-time employees, but also full-time tutors and caregivers. They may also have been sharing working space with other family members, leaving them no time to themselves. If we are in a state of balance, we feel we are able to manage the demands of work, family, and our personal lives. If we're not in a state of balance, those same demands can leave us feeling emotionally drained and overwhelmed. During today's sessions, we're going to talk about what we have the most control over, ourselves and our reaction to all the stressors happening around us. We will then participate in a short pause, during which we'll ask you to participate in a brief guided activity. After that guided break, we're going to talk about ourselves at work and share tips and ideas you can apply in your life, at work, and at life. Finally, we will end the session with a Q&A. Michelle's going to start the discussion about ourselves and our reaction.
Thank you. How do we feel when we're experiencing overwhelming stress? How we feel on a day-to-day basis can and does change based on our circumstances. When we're experiencing overwhelming stress, we may feel exhausted, pressured, distracted, overwhelmed, and frustrated. We may fear letting people down. We may fear being criticized or judged. Remaining in this state of overwhelming stress is not good for ourselves, our home, or work lives. Marianne, you've talked a lot about burnout and how it affected you personally. Can you share your experiences in dealing with overwhelming stress?
I don't know, Michelle. I think what you just described was my life for about 20 years. And now I think I'm a lot better at dealing with overwhelming stress. I think a lot about what Brene Brown says is, what's the story I'm telling myself? And I find that when the stress is overwhelming, it's not what I actually have on my plate. It's not the things I need to do or the tasks I need to complete. It's me saying, you're never going to get it done. You're going to let people down. You're going to be a failure. And what I have learned to do is to be more objective about those thoughts, about that story. And one of the ways that I've done that is in our Plan for Resilience. So this is a free resource that's on our Workplace Strategies website. And the University of Chicago shared something that we call the 4 A's, that if we can pull ourselves back from being emotional and reactionary to stress and be more thoughtful about it, the 4 A's are, can we accept, alter, adapt, or avoid stress? And we don't have time to get into it here, but I really recommend that people take that time to question the story that they're telling themselves in order to step back and deal with what is, rather than the big narrative that we make around how we feel about it. Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks, Marianne. Now let's look at tools we can use to help manage overwhelming stress and our reaction to it. In work, we're trained to think critically. That way of thinking encourages us to find flaws in every situation in order to find solutions. But in life, when we think critically about every experience, we can take some of the enjoyment out of it. We can also make relationships less enjoyable if we look at everyone through a critical and judgmental perspective. But we can retrain our brains to recognize and focus on what is good in our lives and what we can be grateful for. A gratefulness practice can change the quality of our lives. We're all familiar with the concept of training to achieve a fitness goal. This is about training our brains to achieve an overall well-being goal. Our brains can be trained to focus on anything. For example, maybe you buy a new car and then you start seeing that car everywhere. Your brain is now unconsciously looking for that kind of vehicle. This is a frequency illusion. After noticing something for the first time, there's a tendency to notice it more often, which can lead you to believe that something is occurring more frequently when it is not. The only thing that has changed is your awareness of that thing. In work and in life, we don't want to lose our ability for critical thinking because it's useful, perhaps even necessary at times. But we want to balance it out by optimizing our ability to see the positives in situations and people. Carolyn is going to share that with us.
Thanks, Michelle. One way to train your brain to see the positives is to purposefully look for things that we can be grateful for. So these things might be characteristics, situations, and experiences we have on a day-to-day basis. So just like the car that Michelle was referencing, we can begin to see the positives that were always there, but may have been overlooked in the past. Writing down the positives helps us to retrain our brains to recognize what is good in our lives and what we can be grateful for. So you've all heard of gratitude practices. Some people use journals, some use apps, or you can just think about what you're grateful for. The point is to add this to your resource toolbox as a go-to exercise, maybe at night before you go to sleep, or maybe first thing in the morning when you're starting your day. You can also look at taking a just-in-time approach. So if you're feeling especially stressed, you can take a mental break at any time during the day. Spend a few minutes breathing calmly, deeply, and remembering the good things in our lives, whether you're at work or at home, and that can help put your current stressor into perspective. When you're having a bad day or struggling, it might seem like there's nothing good or positive in life. And if this is the case, can we be grateful for something small, like no traffic on our way to work, or a parking spot close to the grocery store when it was raining yesterday, maybe even just that we got to work on time? This gratitude practice can be done individually or in a team activity, perhaps even trying it with your kids, pulling from them what was good about their day to help them shift their thinking. When you're doing this in the workplace, if you're a leader, you can ask your team to write down the things that they're grateful for in terms of their job, the people they work with, or the accomplishments they've had that day. It could be a way to open or close a meeting. So if you share one thing that you're grateful for today, it doesn't have to be work related, maybe even just something small that you're willing to share. You can also establish a more formal method of sharing gratitude in the workplace. So some workplaces have built online gratitude forums on their intranet site, or they've put up an actual gratitude board where people can post what they're grateful for that day. We've also seen workplaces develop communication channels where people can share their gratitude for other team members who have helped them. When we post how grateful we are for help or advice from coworkers, the positive effects can expand to everyone. So now this sounds easy, but it's not. A member of my team shared that she had established a personal gratitude practice several times, but wasn't successful in sustaining the activity. She booked it into her calendar, didn't work. She tried a free app, but didn't continue with that. She signed up for a daily email reminder, but you know what, that's just another email in her inbox that she had to deal with. So that dropped off too. So she decided to approach it from a place where she could focus on practices that she knew she could sustain. So along with committing to some personal fitness goals, she adopted a practice of making sure to send thank you or appreciation notes to her coworkers who really helped her out. Expressing gratitude might seem like a small thing to you, but not to the person who receives that gratitude. It means a lot. Maybe that's the best part of their day. So these efforts to focus on gratitude are backed up by science too. There are many resources to confirm this. So we'll just highlight one, and that's Harvard Medical School. So their Health Beat newsletter said, in a positive psychology research, gratitude is strongly and consistently associated with greater happiness. Gratitude helps people feel more positive emotions, relish good experiences, improve their health, deal with adversity, and build strong relationships. Marianne, what are your thoughts about gratitude?
Well, one thing, Carolyn, that isn't known about gratitude is that if you are expressing gratitude insincerely, so if you're going, oh yeah, I'm grateful for the sun, I'm grateful for the sky, I'm great, you know, because you're being forced to, or even on a team where they say, write down 3 things you're grateful for about work, is that it can actually have the opposite effect. It can make you more cynical and it can be annoying. So we really want to focus on the kinds of things that you brought up where we're trying to put it into play. And your colleague who said, okay, I'm going to start to catch my colleagues doing something that's helpful for me that I appreciate, and I'm going to let them know. That's a very sincere form of gratitude. When I use one of the journals that I like, which is the 5-minute journal, I force myself to have something different each day. But I don't use it all the time. I use it when my mind is now focusing more on the negative. And it's, as you and Michelle both said, it's retraining my brain. Because if I'm lapsing into that negative outlook and I want to shift it back to what I know is better for the quality of my life, which is focusing on what's good, even in a bad situation, then I'll start to apply it. So there's lots of evidence about the value of gratitude, but it's sincere gratitude that will do it, not you making stuff up because you think it's going to work. It's finding things that matter to you. So thanks for that, Carolyn.
Great. So there's another way of slowing down your thought process in addition to the gratitude and recognition that Carolyn spoke about, and it helps to relax both your mind and your body. And it's actually a way to invite free-flowing creativity into your mind rather than the critical thinking skills that we often have to handle during our workday. So during the pandemic, our team had many virtual social events, like I'm sure many of you have had, and some of them actually involved creative activities. So we're all across the country and we can't get together to socialize in person, especially during the pandemic. So we've tried a few different virtual activities to help engage our team in non-work related conversation. And a recent one that we just did this past spring, I selected a picture with, and you can see it on the screen here, with the help of my artist sister, sent the picture to everyone, sent instructions on what materials they needed, and then we all got together for an hour to paint and chat. And initially we all thought there's no way we're going to get this all done in an hour. Everyone was focused on their painting, and what we noticed is that the conversation just flowed so well during that hour, and we were actually all done at the end. And sometimes, for all of us, virtual events feel a little bit forced or staged. But in this case, we just chatted like as if we were all in one room together. And out of all the events that we have done together over the last 2 years, this is the one that I think left us all feeling the most relaxed and the most connected. And it's an example of seeing how we could be focused on an artistic activity, but still engaging and contributing to a conversation. So along that same vein, when we were all younger, I'm sure many of us had gotten into trouble for doodling during school. However, recent research has shown that doodling can actually help you focus on your attention while you're listening. So for some people, doodling actually allows them more creative thinking and more innovation. We actually have a coworker on our team who is what we would call a first-class doodler. And I think she's listening today and she'll know who she is. So when we're in internal meetings together and we're all concentrating on the information that's being shared and discussed, what we will see is that she's very busy doodling pictures or coloring in the lines on the paper, but she's definitely listening to what's being said because she contributes to the conversation. So it's obvious that she's not distracted or taking her mind off of what is being discussed in our meetings. And I asked her if she could tell us what she does and why she does it and how it helps her. And what she said is that she loves to doodle, and it actually helps her concentrate. When she doodles in meetings, it means she's actually focused on listening, and she's using the doodling to keep her mind from running around all over the place. If she isn't doodling, she said her mind will wander instead of paying attention to the topic at hand. So she actually said, I don't know if there's a psychology to it, but it works for me. And you know what? There is a psychology to it. According to an article on techwell.com, doodling can actually help you focus and make it easier to listen. It can relieve stress and it can also improve productivity. It can also help in memory retention. So think about doodling a number or a word or maybe even an image that pertains to what you're discussing or listening to, and it's likely more to stay with you afterwards. In one study, people who doodled during a long, kind of boring voicemail message, we all get those, better recalled the details of the message later on than people who didn't. Researchers speculate that doodling helps the brain remain active compared to the strain of paying single-minded continuous attention. So if you're looking to improve your powers of concentration or calm those racing minds during a meeting, try doodling. It just might work. Marianne, we have some resources on workplace strategies that people can use, correct?
Yes, and they're just called coloring pages for adults that are there free for download, and there's some beautiful images on there for them to use. Yeah, I just want to add to that, Caroline, that in the doodle, of course, is one, but for some people, listening to music while they work is a way to help them to concentrate and to eliminate other noises or even other thoughts. For some people, having the stand-up desk helps them to focus more. And we need to be persistent to find what works for us, what settles your mind, what helps you to stop. I call it my monkey brain, where it's racing all the time. And it doesn't matter what it is that works for you, if it's gardening, if it's art, if it's music or something else. But if you don't learn to quiet your mind from time to time throughout the day, you are significantly more likely to have stress-related problems. So we need to find a way to do that. Right?
That's a great lead into where we are now, Marianne, because we're going to actually take a very short but guided break during which we're going to complete an activity that is specifically designed to calm the mind and body. And we'd like you to participate. It's just a 2-minute exercise, but after that, we're going to talk about the proven benefits. So think about how you're feeling right now. Notice any points of tension in your body or in your mind. If you're not already doing so, please sit and plant both feet firmly on the ground. Place your hands on your legs with your palms up. If you're comfortable to do so, close your eyes, relax, and breathe normally. Relax all of the muscles in your face. Focus your attention on the back of your eyelids. Relax the back of your head, your neck and shoulders, your arms. Feel your hands on your lap. Relax your chest, your back, your abdomen and hips, your thighs, your calves, your feet. Focus on the feeling and sensations on the bottom of your feet. Now switch your focus to the most obvious sounds in the room. Release your focus completely. Open your eyes. And think about how you're feeling now, less than 2 minutes from when I asked you last, and compare it to how you were feeling before you began. This was an abbreviated progressive muscle relaxation exercise, and it can be done over a longer period. We did a 2-minute exercise because we have time, we're time limited today, but you can do it in a longer period of time. And the intention of a mindfulness meditation exercise like this is to take a break from your thought process. So you might be overwhelmed with a deadline, but taking 2 minutes to focus on other senses like hearing and touch can calm and recharge you. Removing yourself physically or mentally from your work or any stressful situation is proven to improve your focus and productivity, reduce stress, and decrease the level of cortisol in our brains and bodies. A study by the Center of Mind and Brain at UC Davis confirmed the connection between mindfulness and cortisol. Their study showed that participants saw major benefits in only a few weeks of meditation. Instantaneous and lasting results with minimal time commitment is a major reason for incorporating mindfulness and daily meditation into your day, even if it's only a minute or two. Marianne, I know we also have resources and workplace strategies that can help with this too, right?
Yeah, there's many resources on managing stress and preventing burnout, and lots of tips on work-life balance. I want to just add, we don't all have the luxury of having your nice, smooth voice to walk us through the progressive muscle relaxation. But in the fall, we're going to actually have audio clips that people can use for that. So keep watching our website for it. But I also want to say there's something that I do that all it takes is I set my phone for 60 seconds, set the timer for 60 seconds, and I really don't put any pressure on myself to do anything but be still. And I don't try to manage my mind. I don't try to do anything in particular. And even that can relax your central nervous system. You actually feel the tension sort of melting away, and it's only 60 seconds. So for those of you who, like me, said, I don't have time for this, I've got so many things to do, 60 seconds. We can do 60 seconds and it still can make a difference. So I really encourage you to do that. The other thing for those of you who are a little more active, a little more into things like yoga, on June 16th, we're having yoga for mental health. And we went to Yoga Fit Canada to ask them about the specific things, not the stretch, turn yourself into a pretzel stuff, but the types of poses that allow your mind to relax, allow your body to relax, that are really for anybody from beginner stage up. So if you're interested in coming and being part of Yoga for Mental Health on June 16th, go to our Workplace Strategies website and check that out. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, Marianne. And actually, as I'm listening to you, you've given me some great ideas, and I will accept your 60-second challenge, and I will let you know how it works next time we connect. I'd like to shift the focus to us in the workplace for a moment. There are many factors that influence the level of stress we feel at work, and we may find our work to be very exciting if we are feeling trained, if we're feeling supported by our leaders, our coworkers, if we are interested in what we do, that's a big thing. And of course, if we're feeling healthy, generally healthy, both at home and at work. Alternatively, we may feel a lot more overwhelmed at work if we are unprepared, unsupported, if we're not interested in what we do, and of course, when we are struggling with our personal health issues, family issues. What we want to focus on today are the things that are within our control as people. When it comes to managing stress in the workplace, when it comes to managing stress with associated workloads. So, Marianne, what are your thoughts on that? What are some things that we can control in the workplace?
Yeah, I think, and really, Alana, I'm drawing on when I was overwhelmed, when I was burning out, is to really clarify the expectations and the priorities that you have and check it out with your boss. Because here's the thing, when I was really into burnout, when I was really overwhelmed at work, my ability to judge what was important was impaired. I thought everything was urgent, everything was important, nobody else could help. I had to do it all. In hindsight, I realized I was wrong, but I didn't know it at the time. So that's the first thing. Clarify your expectations and priorities so that you are sure that what you're doing is what's most important and that there's not things that you could let go of at that time. You also want to think about when something else is asked of you, that you say, what is it that I should let go of? What is it that can wait? What is it that's not a priority if I take this additional task on? And I know that a lot of people think, I can't say that to my boss. They're going to say, just do it. The majority of people who are in management positions, including myself, when I was a leader of employees, we don't know all the things that you have on your plate. We can't possibly remember what every single person is doing. So you reminding us that something has to give is helpful to us. You don't have to say it in an angry voice or, out of frustration, but just out of what should be left. The other two things that I really want to suggest for managing workload stress is to slow down. Now, you may think that's counterintuitive. You got so much to do and I want you to slow down. But when I slow down the way I talk, when I slow down the way I think and make decisions, when I slow down even the way I move, I am going to be more effective at that time of overwhelm than when I'm rushing through, making mistakes and finding that I'm forgetting things and I'm doing things incorrectly. So that's the first piece there. Slow down. I promise you, your productivity and performance will go up when you're stressed and overwhelmed, not down. And then the last one, again, may seem counterintuitive to you, but the science backs me up on this. Take your breaks. If you get up and you walk away, if you clear your head, if you stop continuing to push through, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, you will be more productive. You will make better decisions than if you just push through. So thanks for that, Alana.
And thank you, Marianne. You've certainly given us some practical strategies to think about in our day-to-day work. I'd like to shift the focus for a moment into the workplaces and what workplaces can do. In a psychologically safe workplace, we're feeling supported to do a good job in a healthy work environment. It means for us that we can leave at the end of the workday with our mental and physical well-being intact. All workplaces have some level of workload stress. So when I think about a coffee shop during a morning or an afternoon rush hour, when I think about an accounting firm during a taxation season, so those levels of stress ebb and flow for workplaces as well. Guarding Minds at Work is a resource accessible from Workplace Strategies for Mental Health from the website. It identifies a number of actions that workplaces can take that can contribute to the employee's ability to cope with stress. Some of the information there or some examples would include encouraging employees to take their entitled breaks. So whether it's vacation or daily breaks, slowing down, just like you had said, Marianne, promoting the importance of work-life balance, and very importantly, creating a culture where employees feel comfortable speaking with their leaders. When they're having trouble maintaining that balance, maintaining those deadlines, a culture where employees feel supported in the workplace. When they're dealing with personal and family issues, that approachability in the work environment with our leaders. And equally important is for workplaces to have programs and policies to prevent that feeling of burnout. If you are a leader, it is important that your direct employees leave the work at the end of the day with energy left over, not to feel completely zonked out. So ask yourself, can my direct reports answer yes to the following questions? The amount of work that I am expected to do is reasonable for my position. I can talk to my leader about the amount of work I have to do. I have the equipment, resources, the time needed to do my job well. My work is free from unnecessary interruptions, disruption. The technology is there for me to do it well. And I have control over my tasks, my responsibilities, and I can prioritize accordingly. Leaders and teams can work together. This is part of that culture to address and improve workload management in the workplace. And as leaders, engaging our team in a discussion about how to better manage the workload is a great place to start. And these discussions will help cultivate a psychologically healthy, a psychologically safe workplace that we all strive to have. So Marianne, now back to you. I know that Workplace Strategies has a lot of resources on this topic. Can you please share a few with us?
We do have a lot of resources on this topic, Alana, because it's one of the biggest factors in workplaces today. If your employee feels overwhelmed, if they're completely stressed out at work, they're not going to perform as well. And we talk about workload, and in some workplaces, the actual amount of work is a problem. When you have people that are working, 14-hour days, 6 or 7 days a week, you've got a problem. The organization needs to deal with it. But often we have workload issues where people are working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and they're still saying that there's so much workload pressure. In those cases, the issue is much less about the amount of work. I mean, if I use myself as an example, I will not in my lifetime finish the work that I would like to do because there's so many opportunities. There's so many things that could be done, but I don't have stress about it because I'm passionate about what I am doing. I have the resources, I have the support, I have the great people around me that I work with. If we think about this in the workplace, that it's less about the amount of work and more about the way we're made to feel about it. You just have to think about working on a team where you knew what you were doing mattered and you knew who you were mattered. That you have that energy, you have that drive, you have that passion, you want to work, and the days go by quickly. But you could have a lot less productivity, a lot less demand, in a workplace where you feel threatened, where you feel like your job's always on the line, where you feel that nobody's got your back. So some of the tools that we have are like putting workload on the agenda. It's a workshop that's meant for an intact team to sit down and talk about, where does the pressure come from doing your work? How could we just come in, do the best we can, and leave at the end of the day, as you said before, with some energy left over? We have to understand that the higher the demand you have on employees for cognitive or social skills, then the higher the control they need over how they do it, the higher the support they need, or the feeling that people have their backs. So there's so many things that can help with that. Supportive performance management is an approach that helps optimize the energy and focus of employees rather than using just the discipline or punitive approach. We have team building activities where we have building trust for leaders. All of these things contribute to the ability to be able to manage workload, and even supporting employee success. What that is a very comprehensive tool to support an employee who may have a physical or a mental disability to be able to do their job well, in spite of that, in spite of the stress that they're dealing with through life. So lots is available, but the biggest underlying issue is, how do we feel about the work that we're doing and ourselves on the team? That can change it completely. Thanks for that, Alana.
So Marianne, we're getting a lot of questions in the chats about how people can engage with their manager or leader in a discussion about what they need to be successful in the workplace. So many people might feel awkward or uncomfortable navigating this type of discussion. And what makes a conversation difficult is actually our own discomfort. So if we're comfortable with conflict or emotion or criticism, we can have these discussions without difficulty. That would be kind of ideal. But when we're worried about how the other person will react, which often happens when we're dealing with a conversation with our leader, we're likely to feel a little bit more uncomfortable. So learning to be relaxed, curious, and open to ideas and feedbacks in potentially difficult conversations actually requires a level of what we call emotional intelligence. That can actually be learned, though. A good thing. So Workplace Strategies has an emotional intelligence resource for employees to help increase their ability to manage reactions, control how they can impact others. And there's also an emotional intelligence skills assessment tool that is on the site, and it can help to improve your self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, as well as relationship management, like with your manager or leader. So Marianne, I know you've talked about this in the past, but I think certainly with the transition back into the workplace for many, could you share your thoughts about what employees can do with their supervisors and how they can help them understand how to best support the employee as well as their needs?
Yeah, sure. So Caroline, I get accused all the time of being very practical. And although I really encourage everybody to do the emotional intelligence self-assessment and learn, because that's going to improve your quality of life, period. It's going to improve all of your relationships. I have a simple way, though, of speaking to your leader, your boss, about something that feels emotional, feels confrontational, feels difficult, is switch it from thinking about complaining to your leader or disclosing your personal issues to your leader, and instead think of it from their perspective. They want you to be a good employee. They will probably never really understand what you're going through in terms of your personal, mental, emotional life. I mean, our family and friends don't get it most of the time. But what they do understand is that need for you to be able to do your job. So here's the way I would do it. I would say to the leader, I want to be a good employee. And right now, in order for me to do it, I may need these things from you. So these things may be, I may need your help prioritizing what I need to do and what I can get done in, you know, the 35 hours that I'm here. I may need to decline overtime right now because I've got things going on at home. I may need to ask you not to raise your voice when you're speaking to me because I'm probably going to overreact to it at this moment. You don't have to disclose anything, but you need to say, I want to do a good job and these are the things that I need from you. The second thing you're going to say is, during this time where I'm dealing with maybe stressors or I'm dealing with a health issue or whatever you want to say, I'm going to do certain things to help improve my success at work. And here's what I was thinking would really help me. I think I'm going to leave the work site at lunch to clear my head so that I can do a better job when I come back. I think that I am going to only, stay at meetings that I really have to be at. I think that I'm going to, start changing my nutrition because I know that if I eat healthier, I'll be able to focus, whatever it is for you. And then the last thing that you're going to say is to deal with the fear of the leader's reaction. You're going to say, if my performance isn't meeting your expectations, here's how I'd like you to bring that to my attention. And here you're going to say, I'd like to speak to you privately. I'd like for you to give me an email and let me know what is the problem and what you want me to do better, whatever the actual answer is for you, so that the leader knows how to approach you, you know what to expect, and you're not waiting for them to come back on you saying that there's something wrong. So the whole idea here is you take control, keep the conversation focused on you being a good employee, not about your health issues, not about your personal issues, and get a plan in place before you have to face discipline or criticism. Thanks for that, Caroline.
Thanks, Marianne. And we've been scrolling through the questions in the Q&A, and a lot of them had to do with what you were just talking about, Marianne, which was, how, as an employee, how do I approach my leader? What can I say? What are the tips? I think you've shared a lot of great suggestions. We've had a couple of questions about where the information that we've been referencing today is housed, and pretty much everything we've been talking about is available to you for free on the Workplace Strategies for Mental Health website, which you can see on this slide here. So, but to make it easier, we have also compiled one-pagers in English and French that specifically call out the resources that we've been talking about today. So you can link directly from that one-pager. We are going to post that on Workplace Strategies as well. Unfortunately, this environment doesn't allow us to post a file that you could access, but we will put it on the Workplace Strategies for Mental Health website. A few of you have asked about whether you're going to be able to get access to this material. This event is recorded, and we will be posting it in English and French on YouTube probably within the next few days, 3 or 4 days, so you'll be able to access it there. We want to thank you for your participation today. We never have enough time to answer all the questions that you provide for us, but we really do appreciate those questions because those can guide how we approach the next event. You've given us in the chat several great ideas as well for topics to cover in a future event. So for now, we'd like to wrap up by saying thank you very much for your participation, your ideas today. And look for the recording on YouTube, and we look forward to coming back to you again soon. Thanks so much.